Right then, here we are in episode number 4, and as you can see right in front of you, we have now jumped to the other side of the build. Obviously, in all the episodes leading up to now, we'd been building the right side of the screen, but now on the left side of the screen, you can see we have a lot of walls placed in as our boundary, essentially, and all of the rock work going in for that iconic section of Taran. Let's be honest, the end of the second launch is an iconic viewpoint where you've got the waterfalls, you've got all the wooden ladders going up the rock work. It's just probably one of the most photographed points of Taran, and I've basically said that about every point of Taran so far in this series, but yes, it is a very important and iconic part of Taran. Now, I don't normally do this, but if you would like to follow more updates of this Taran build, please consider subscribing to the channel so you don't miss any future updates on this build. And also, it lets me know that you're actually enjoying these videos, and it motivates me to carry on this very, very challenging Planet Coaster 2 build. There will be more Planet Coaster 2 videos and series after this series too, so if you want to stick around for those, that would be amazing as well. But we're going to jump straight into the build in this episode, no wasting time. Let's get into building this section, and you can see here I'm starting by placing these boundary walls, and this is the difference between the first section that we built on the other end of the ride and this section. The first bit we built is actually on the inside of the park, so everything behind all the rocks and the walls that we placed is actually, you know, ride show buildings and show buildings, show buildings, there we go. But on this end of the ride, Taran boundaries, it borders the edge of the park, so there is this perimeter wall that we need to consider that the rock work will be up against, and on the other side of this wall in real life is the car park, or the entrance road to the car park and the actual car parking spaces. So it's important to have this boundary wall in, and as I always say in every episode, more track editing, because there will be track editing right up until the end. And I have seen 1 or 2 comments saying about some sections of track maybe not looking like too accurate yet. I assure you, the track is not complete. Even by the end of this episode, the track is absolutely not complete. There is going to be track editing all the way till the end of this build. I knew for a fact that even as buildings and rock work goes in, it's such a tight, tangled mess that I knew it would have to basically, the track would have to form all the time, like all the way through making all of the buildings and rock work. The track's going to have to keep moving. And here you can see the perimeter walls are sort of in there. I think I do a little bit of editing to those position-wise in a little bit, but I have this this pre-built section of rock which I used on the other end, which I quite liked, and I thought I'd start with this to start making the shaping of the rock wall on this end. And to be honest, the best sort of method I've found so far is to just place this in so that, yeah, it looks a bit duplicated at the start, but then you sort of shave off rocks, almost like you're giving it a bit of a haircut. And once you've got those sort of rocks trimmed off, you can make it look kind of unique, and then it forms the shape you're looking for, essentially. But I start off with these big duplicated bits of rock first to get sort of to get going, essentially, because as you can imagine, it's a big thing to make this. So even with the track work, I originally just laid out the track work in order to have a starting point to go off, because you know it's a daunting task thinking I'm going to have to make the whole of Klugheim, and you start with just the grass patch that you load up in Planet Coaster. So yeah, often what I find and what I advise other people when they build in this game is just get something down. You know, get some track down, get some scenery down, whatever you can think of in your head. Just start placing it, and then you can mold it into what you're actually wanting it to be later on. But as long as you've got something down to start with, then you can actually work off of that. Because the most daunting thing in this game, and what I hear quite a lot, is that starting a build is the hardest part. And it is. Starting is genuinely the hardest part of any build, because you just are faced with a daunting green grass field with nothing on it, and you have to turn that into something, a theme park, a roller coaster, whatever it may be. So yeah, just getting stuff down to start with can really help. And you can see here, this rock wall has gone up pretty quickly through a lot of duplication, and then you'll see me shaving off bits of rock, and I think I shave off bits of rock a bit off camera as well. But here I'm hand placing these rocks because this is a slightly different shape we're going for, and I don't have a wall that I'd already pre-built for this shape, so have to hand place this, obviously. And this is the wall that acts almost as a bit of a tunnel. I guess a head chopper. I suppose it is a head chopper. When you're riding Taron, you come off the end of that second launch and you start going up and to the left, and you fly underneath some rock work, which I suppose is a head chopper in a sense. And I can't remember. It's been exactly a year since I've been on Taron, so I can't remember if it does feel like a head chopper or not, if you don't really notice it on the ride. But maybe one of you in the comments can tell me that if you've been on Taron more recently. But yeah, this took a few attempts to get right, and I move and shuffle things about. I even move a little bit of the track work as well to make this whole area fit and work properly, and even raise it up, as you can see there, because the rock work actually sort of goes to the same height as the highest point of the ride, which is obviously the top of that overbank on the left. And the rock work currently is not at that height. And again, more track work, of course. But whilst this is going on, let's just talk briefly about the Frontier Unwrapped live stream. Well, it was pre-recorded, but they live streamed it, where they showed us the new raft mechanics, and that is brilliant. Fair play. That is very, very impressive, because you know, I was only half expecting them just to make a sort of method that just fake bends the model of the raft into a tube shape. But no, it looks like they're actually having the raft itself, the inflatable raft, be physics based, so it will deform and follow the shape of the slide. And that is very impressive, actually. I thought that was very, very cool to see, and fair play to them for even coming on that video and just saying sorry, because they did. They apologized about how they handled the DLC and update situation, and said that all they're going to focus on in the start of the next year is free content and free content updates or whatever. I don't know if they're just referring to the bug fix updates or if they're saying that we're actually going to get some free content for the game, which I suppose either or is pretty cool. The general gist of what everyone's saying is that they shouldn't have even charged for the DLC. They should have just given that as a freebie. And I know that almost sounds a bit entitled, but at the same time, you know, the game has been slightly challenging to work with on some buggy sides, and some people have had way worse experiences than me, because I've heard things about game crashes and things like that. I haven't had that myself, but I understand entirely how annoying that could be if that was happening to you. So yeah, it's nice to hear that it's nice that they even addressed it, to be honest. They addressed it very well, and just right off the bat at the start of the video, the first thing they addressed was that, and they just said sorry. And I think that's very good of them. Fair play. And in fact, the whole thing was very good. They didn't show us or tell us much new at all. They actually only just showed us the raft deforming animation prototype, but that alone was very impressive, and the fact that they said sorry, very good. So all in all, I think that Unwrapped thing, although it didn't show us much, was successful in getting the fans back on track. Because at the end of the day, and I was saying this the other day, I think this game is brilliant. Like, in building this Taran recreation, I have absolutely loved it, and I think it is such a fantastic game, and it's definitely an upgrade over the first game. There's no denying that. I actually popped back into the first game the other day just to have a look at something, and yeah, it just feels so wrong now using the old game when you've used the new game for so long. So yeah, I think the new game is fantastic. There are still, obviously, don't get me wrong, there's still a lot that they need to do, but at the same time, it's a fantastic game, and I don't think that can be overlooked. Having that bend in the rockwork there means that I can't keep the walkway straight, because I'm working off a lot of reference imagery, obviously, to make this, and you can see that the walkway does go straight along the rock and it doesn't bend, so the rockwork will need to be straight as well. So weird tangent there, sorry, but it's these little fine details that you really have to pick up on when you're working off all this reference imagery, Google Earth and Street View and things like that. All of that is on my other monitor, which, having the luxury of another monitor, really I am grateful for this build, because my god, you need to constantly have all this reference imagery up to make this possible. And like I said in the first episode, there's no like bringing in blueprints or importing any pictures that I can trace or work off, because we can't import imagery into the game yet. So yeah, I'm just going off what looks closest to the street view pictures that I have on my other monitor. And you see I go down to peep view quite often just to essentially match up that view, and I sort of side by side it between my monitors. But yes, that'll do it for the time-lapse bit of this video, because when you actually have these sections built, it's so much cooler in my eyes to actually go down to peep view and just walk you around it like you're in Klugheim, and that's what we're going to do right now. So then, here we are in the build, and as you can see, there's not a lot to see over here. But by the way, these pathways are not staying the way they are. They are purely there so that we can get guests actually riding the roller coaster. So ignore the pathways for now, okay? But as you can see, over here would be Cheer Pass. Over here would be the sort of living wall and the overflow queue line. And what we've done so far is over here. and you get a better look at it when you come around this way. And yes, this view here is particularly nice when you're stood on this bridge, and I'm particularly happy with that. I think something that's so nice about this end of Taran is that all this wooden like ladders and walkways actually help give some context to the rock, because the rock by itself is, if you just look at it by itself, it just looks like a blob of grey. There's no other colours, and it's just a bit, a bit grey, a bit bland. But when you add all this wooden ladders and walkways, and even that weird thing that's on the top that I don't know what it is, but it's there in real life, so obviously it has to go in the recreation. Yeah, it just helps to lift and add more detail and context to the actual rocks, which is really nice. And this section of path over here will all be under cover when it's actually done. And something that's quite nice is with the new path editing tool, you can make really thin pathways that actually work. And I tested it with guests, and peeps can actually walk up a super thin pathway like this. In fact, you could probably get away with making it even thinner, which is great, especially for recreations like this. Wow, look at that queue line. Amazing. But yes, there we go. There is the latest update to the Taron recreation, and it is looking it's looking really nice, actually, in my opinion. I'm very happy, very pleased. And next up, where do we go? Who knows? There's going to be a slight pause in the updates to this, just because I'm spending Christmas and New Year's out in Paris, so I won't be able to do any building in this recreation for about 2 weeks. So yes, there will be a slight delay in the next episode, I assume, but I'm also planning to have a side-by-side POV comparison ready, so that you can see what the real-life POV is like compared to the Planet Coaster 2 POV. And that video may already even be out, or it may be on its way very soon. So whichever one of those options it is, you may have already seen it, and I may be just waffling. But there we go. Thank you for watching this video, though, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.